Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to the last lap. In today's video we're going to be previewing the NASCAR races this weekend at Talladega. It'll actually be like today's and tomorrow's race because this is going to go up on Saturday, so sorry about a little bit of a delay there. Just scheduling issues with two people is kind of hard, so we're doing what we can. But this video is going to be previewing Talladega for the Xfinity and the Cup Series, and we're going to talk about some news that came out over the past week, including the North Wilkesboro announcement that we teased kind of in the last video because we didn't know what it was going to be, but it did happen. So we'll talk about that and everything. But before we hop into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. That would greatly help our channel out, and we would appreciate it if you would do so. And as always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew joining me on the show, and it looks like you've seemed to come back down to earth from your sky high of your driver winning on Bristol dirt last week. So how's it feel to be back on planet Earth heading to Talladega, where literally anything could happen, just like last week at Bristol dirt actually? So how's it feel to be heading from one unpredictable race to another?
Well, I've had a great week. I've been celebrating all week long, and that's because Talladega's next, and I know we're not winning that race, so it is what it is. So I'm ready for Talladega this weekend. It's gonna be another crazy weekend, and yeah, I think we're gonna have a underdog win this race.
Yeah, and also I don't know if you guys are catching this in these videos, but I do have like a diecast, it's like a specific diecast in the background every week back there on my desk. You guys can like look at it every week if you want. I'm not gonna point it out every week, but it's there this week. It's just Jeff Gordon's 2007 Talladega win, the blue and white Pepsi car, one of my favorite paint schemes of all time. So just look back there if you guys want to sneak peek at a specific diecast every week. There'll be a different one up there. But anyways, you should do that. Well, you should do that once you get back home. You can put like a specific diecast in the background. You have your whole shelf. It's hard to pick out with one specific one because you have like 30 of them back there in your background. But
I don't need to do a specific one. I got my whole shelf. I'm all
we're
good.
both running a little bit low on space. But anyways, we're gonna hop into some news now. Two of these are regarding the schedule for the upcoming next season, kind of, and then there's some other stuff in here too. So I'll start with the other stuff first. So the TV ratings were very good for Bristol Dirt. I believe it was the highest Bristol Cup race since 2016, I want to say, which is a good thing. Yeah. So good numbers going up. That's always great to see. It's great to see that the numbers went up, especially them, being on dirt and everything. And it was the same thing for the truck race. For the truck race, the numbers went up as well, which is great. You love to see it. There's talks about another Easter night race, which would be cool, I think. I think that draws a lot more of an audience since it's on Easter Sunday and people are usually at home, not at work, even though I was one of those guys at work on Easter Sunday night, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's great to see that the ratings are up. Always love seeing that. And speaking of Bristol, Bristol announced that Bristol Dirt is returning for 2023, which honestly isn't really a surprise. The announcement came a little sooner than I expected, honestly, just because, since it wasn't announced during the race, I figured that they would kind of reevaluate things and look at different options maybe or something, but they're like, we're coming back next year too. So that's great to see that another dirt race is on the schedule next year. Hopefully they can try to move the date around a little bit so rain isn't much of a factor. Fingers crossed, but I'm willing to say that that probably won't happen, unfortunately, but you never know. We'll see. Something else, just some specific notes for this week. The open cars that are here at Talladega are Greg Biffle in the 44 and Noah Gragson in the number 62, and then some different drivers who aren't open cars. They'll be in the field. David Rager will be in the number 15, Daniel Hemrick will be in the number 16, and Landon Castle will be in the number 77. So just some extra notes there for you guys. And the final announcement, which is arguably the biggest announcement in the past week that was made on Saturday, a week ago, was that North Wilkesboro Speedway is coming back, which is great. You'll love to see it. I'll let Matthew kind of go into the details because he knew a lot more than I did about it, so I'll let him go over most of it, but there's been no schedule released about if NASCAR will be back next year or not at that track, but there are some steps and some things that will be happening this year and next year, so we can possibly have some type of NASCAR race there next year, but I'll let you go into detail about that since you filled me in on it. I would, rather let you do it than me because you told me. But anyways, Matthew, what do you have to say about some of these announcements and news for this week before we hop into our predictions for this week at Talladega?
So for the open cars are in Talladega, it's the 62 of Noah Gragson and the 44 of Greg Biffle. Those are the open cars. The other numbers you were saying, those are charter teams, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said the open cars were Biffle and Gregson, and then I made a slash in the middle and been like, these cars are just drivers that are racing in the cars that, different names. Like you don't see David Reagan in the 15 every week and Hemrick in the 16. I just wanted to specify that those drivers are racing in those cars. But yes, the open cars are just Biffle and Gregson. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Well, for a second there, you had me confused. I'm like, what? I didn't even know we had that many open cars, but yeah, we'll see how those two teams go. I want to talk about the Bristol Dirt in general. I'm glad it's going to be back next year, and it should be back. And I still stand that there should be a Bristol Dirt race on the schedule. And those TV numbers, I was happy to see because that proves my point. People were watching this race. I like how all these people on the internet, they're always whining about this whole race. And it doesn't belong in NASCAR, and I'm sure nobody's watching it. Meanwhile, look at the numbers. Second highest TV ratings of the year besides the Daytona 500. That's saying something right there. And I think Easter Sunday helped with that a lot too. They just gotta move that race to May or June because it doesn't need to be that early when you're in the mountains. The weather is just too unpredictable. I mean, no one has in mind though. They're gonna be real stubborn about that. If they're that stubborn to not get rid of Texas Motor Speedway out of the schedule, they're gonna be stubborn about this day too. So I doubt it. But I'm just glad it's back, and yeah, I cannot wait to see how this race goes on for the future. Let's see. Was there other ones besides the North Wilkesboro one?
North Wilkesboro is the final thing. It was just the open cars, and we already talked about that. So yeah, North Wilkesboro, right. That's it.
Alright, so this was the big announcement during the Bristol Dirt weekend. North Wilkesboro is back. Well, sort of. So it's not for NASCAR, but for like the grassroots racing, which is like local short track racing, like the late models, modifieds, etc. So in August, they're going to be running the current service of how it is, with many different series. I heard even Dale Jr. is thinking about racing one of those events from his podcast. And then in October, they're going to tear up all that old asphalt off, and they're going to put dirt on it, and they're going to do those same races on dirt during the October. And then next year in 2023, they're going to repave the whole entire track. So it's going to get a fresh new layer of asphalt. So this is big news, especially for longtime NASCAR fans. North Wilkesboro. I never watched any North Wilkesboro races. I was born in '99, so that last race was like a couple years before. So I never got to see what those races were like, but from what I heard, it was a real good time there, a real good short track. As for NASCAR going there, it's gonna be a challenge. The trucks are, I think, the best possibility. The Xfinity race, I think they could, but it's doubtful. I don't think the Cup Series is going to ever go back there. That's just my opinion. Unless it's a Clash event or even an All-Star race if they somehow get rid of Texas Motor Speedway. I just don't see the infrastructure for the Cup Series at North Wilkesboro in the modern era. It was really good back in the 70s and the 80s, but in the modern era when they're going to these big cities, like we just did the Los Angeles Coliseum, we've raced at Nashville, for example, Charlotte. I mean, those are big cities that they're racing nearby or at. I mean, this year they're racing right beside, racing a Gateway, which is right beside downtown St. Louis. Um, I, I mean, North Wilkesboro is in the middle of nowhere, and so is Rockingham. I mean, for the Cup Series today, I just don't see that working out. And I know there's gonna be people, saying why can't the Cup Series go there? It's just simple, man. Yeah, but I'm so happy for North Wilkesboro to be back. I hope to see some type of NASCAR racing, but I don't think it's going to be the Cup Series unless it's, a non-points race, like an all-star race or a clash. Or unless they come up with another non-points race in the future. I don't know what it'll be called, but...
Yeah, it's nice that North Wilkesboro is back. At least racing is returning there, and there's talks about at least maybe the Truck Series returning, maybe. Obviously it's a small track, and the facilities themselves are quite a bit old, so they would have to redo all those. Maybe they could keep them if they want to do the Truck Series, but they would definitely have to renovate it if they want the Cup Series there, because that would pack a lot of seats. A lot of people want to go to that race more than likely if they did return there, but...
I compare North Wilkesboro to Nashville Fairgrounds here. They're kind of like similar in length. They're both classic short tracks that NASCAR Cup Series and all NASCAR series used to race back in the day. But here's the big difference. Nashville Fairgrounds is literally in the middle of not in the middle, but like in downtown Nashville. North Wilkesboro is in the middle of nowhere and deep in the mountains. So that's the reason why Nashville Fairgrounds has a more realistic chance of being on the Cup schedule more than North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, but if you look at Martinsville, honestly, Martinsville is kind of in the middle of nowhere too, and tons of people go out there. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see, what NASCAR and all of them decide to do with it. I do think, obviously, like starting out with the Truck Series will be good, and then go from there based on how attendance was for that race, and maybe do Xfinity a little bit later. Eventually, possibly make the Cup Series there. I don't know, but it is good that racing in general is back at that racetrack, at a historic track on the schedule. It's just, like you said, grassroots racing for now, and then they're going to do a bunch of different stuff with tearing it up, putting dirt on it, repaving it, all that fun stuff. So it'll be cool to watch the changes throughout that track as it grows. But now we're going to talk about this week for the NASCAR Cup Series at Talladega Superspeedway. And before we hop into our predictions, I'm actually going to say my favorite paint scheme for this week as I'm looking at the paint scheme preview. And I'm going to pick Brad Keselowski's number 6 Castrol Ford Mustang. It's a simple white car, but it looks really good with the black and maybe silver number. I can't tell if it's silver or black on the car, but it looks really sharp. I'm a plain guy sometimes, and I like just the simple white on the car, so I like that. But I'm going to give you guys a few drivers to look out for. And speaking of Brad Keselowski, he's actually going to be one of them, even though he is at RFK Racing and they have not had the best start to this year. They ran very well in the duels at Daytona, and I know he had a few mistakes in the Daytona 500 with wrecking a few people, but you always have to watch out for Brad Keselowski at these super speedway races. He's always a contender, and this is an equalizer race. Anybody could win, and the people with super speedway experience, they usually rise their way to the top. So I'm going to say Brad Keselowski is one person to watch. These next 3 people all run for the same organization, and that's going to be Team Penske, also Fords. So Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney. Luke who won the Daytona 500, Austin Cindric. Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, they're always up there as well. Ryan Blaney's won at Talladega a few times. Joey Logano's won at Daytona and Talladega a few times. You always have to watch out for those Penske Fords here at Talladega. So out there, one more kind of long shot out there for you guys too. I'll say, I don't really want to say this name, but I will. But I'll say I would keep an eye on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well. He's tends to be in the mix at these super speedway races, and he has his nickname for a reason. So I'll look out for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well. So Matthew, I don't know if you've looked at the paint schemes or not, but if you want to say if your favorite, fine. If not, whatever. But at least go ahead and give the fans a few people to look out for this week at Talladega.
So I'm going to put, I think for my predictions, I'm going to put all underdogs here because It's Talladega. We've seen a lot of upset moments, and I just gotta put some underdogs on the list. First one I'm gonna put is of course Bubba Wallace. He last time we were at Talladega, he won there, even though it was running short. Daytona, he almost won the Daytona 500 this year. In Atlanta, he was running up front until he got caught up in a last lap wreck. Bubba Wallace always finds a way to be up front when the race is about to end. So I gotta pick Bubba Wallace there. I'm gonna pick both calling cars as well with Justin Haley and Daniel Hamrick. The calling cars, it always seems to be the master of super speedways. Well, for the Xfinity series, but I think that can translate to the Cup series as well, since both drivers have raced for calling in the Xfinity at some point. So I gotta go with both calling cars. I'm going to also pick, well, this one's not really underdog, so I kind of lied there. So I'm going to put Denny Hamlin in there as well because he's always been really good at super speedway racing. I mean, there's a reason why he's won 3 Daytona 500. So I think Denny Hamlin has a shot to win Talladega as well.
Yeah, if you guys are doing fantasy in NASCAR like we are right now, this is a perfect week to use those guys that you usually don't use. Like, I wouldn't use drivers like, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex. I wouldn't use any of those big name drivers, to be honest with you. I would use those low tier drivers that you're normally not going to use every week, like your Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s, your Bubba Wallace's, the Collie cars. I would use those drivers this week. Just, throw a Hail Mary out there. And, they might not win, but they might get you a lot of points. They might finish in the top 5 or top 10. So that's probably what most of us are going to do this week. But, yeah, it's going to be an exciting and crazy weekend at Talladega. Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this episode up?
Not really. Just ready for Talladega to get over with, because I just know we're not going to have a lot of success this weekend.
There we go. Couldn't have wrapped it up better myself. But yeah, we are ready for an action-packed weekend at Talladega. We hope you guys are ready for it too. It's going to be a crazy race. Maybe we'll see a surprise winner. That'll be very cool. We already have a bunch of winners this season. I wouldn't be surprised if we add another one to that list. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this video. Our review should be out early next week. But until then, we will see you guys in our next video.